How's it going, everybody? This is my first YouTube video, and I'm making this video as a tutorial for the PMDG 737-700 that was just released a couple of days ago in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. So in this video, I'm going to be taking off on runway 16 left at Tokyo Haneda Airport, and I'm going to be talking through that departure procedure. So the reason I'm making this video is to help other flight simulator players make their experience more realistic. I think that most flight simmers will likely do what I've done many times before, is that they will load up the aircraft in this scenario, and they'll plug in their flight plan into the FMS on the aircraft, and then they'll just fly exactly what it says to do. And if we do that on this departure, then there's going to be an issue because the departure in the FMS is different than what the procedure actually calls for. And I'll explain why in just a second. So going into the aircraft, we've been told to line up and wait runway 16 left. When my speed's bugged, I'm going to make the V1 call at 112 knots. I'll rotate at 114, and the V2 speed, if I lose an engine, I'll keep climbing out at 121 knots, which I have bugged in the IAS box up top. I've got a heading of 157 bugs to fly runway heading, and I'm going to fly that to 500 feet and then intercept the 140 radial to 8 DME. The box wants me to make a right turn direct to the OPAR intersection after that, and that's going to be a problem because that is not what the departure procedure calls for. If I make that right turn, I'm probably going to get a nasty radio call asking me where I'm going from the approach or departure controller, and then pretty shortly afterwards he's going to tell me that there is a suspected pilot deviation and that he's got a phone number for me to call when we land, which is not what you want to hear. So next up, I'm going to pull up the departure procedure plate, and I'm going to review the official document and see why this is going to get us in trouble, what the FMS has programmed in right now. So I have the departure plate for the OPAR 3 departure at Tokyo International Airport pulled up on the screen, and on the text down here at the bottom on runway 16, I'm going to climb runway heading to 500 feet, and then I'm going to turn left to fly the Haneda VOR DME radial 140 to 8 DME. And this next sentence is what's going to get us in trouble. Turn left heading 239. So it wants us to make a left turn and not a right turn that is in the FMS. And I'm going to remain within Haneda 12 DME to intercept the Haneda 194 radial outbound to OPAR at or above 9,000 right here. And OPAR is at 11.6 DME. I've got one other restriction here. Aircraft taking off from runway 16 left and right are required to complete left turns south of the 080 radial. And then finally the transition, I'm going to fly from OPAR track 224 to JYOGA and cross at or above flight level 150. So our transitions are an RNAV 1 transition here, and I require either DME, IRU, or a GPS basically, and I also require radar to fly it. So I have a GPS, and we've got a radar approach control, and I need that GPS to fly the transitions, but I don't need the GPS to fly the standard instrument departure procedure itself. I can fly that using only the raw nav aids if I wanted to, or if I had an airplane that didn't have a GPS. Alright, will say that we've just been cleared to take off on runway 16 left, and that we've got all the checklists completed. I'm going to push up the power to about 40% N1 and check the engine instruments, and then I'm going to hit the takeoff go-around button on the throttles and start accelerating down the runway. For some reason, Microsoft Flight Simulator starts the aircraft a little bit to the right of center line, so I had to make a little correction there. But otherwise, we've got good acceleration, 280 knots. Hit the V1 and the rotate speeds.
V1 rotate.
Start to lift off. Get the gear and the flaps up. We're looking for 500 feet on the departure before I start this left turn. Because the aircraft has such good performance, I actually have to keep climbing straight ahead a little bit until I get to the departure into the runway before I can make an initial turn to the left and intercept the 140 radial outbound. Something else I forgot to do is put the Haneda VOR DME frequency back into the primary nav aid, and you can see that once I change that frequency, a little green bar pops up that tells me that I'm approaching the 140 radial now. So the difference between that green bar that just popped up and everything else on the FMS is that that data is coming from the raw nav aid itself. Everything else on the screen is coming from our GPS. I accidentally overshoot it slightly, but it's not a big deal when I start my left turn 140 outbound, and I'm looking for 8 DME now. Two more miles to go. Another thing that I'm concerned about is keeping the airspeed relatively low. I'm trying to shoot for 220 knots on this departure, and that's going to keep me from busting my 12 DAV limit. The faster that I'm flying is a higher true airspeed, and a higher true airspeed means that my turn radius will be larger for 30 degrees of bank, or for any degrees of bank. I hit 8 DME, and I'm going to start that left turn to a heading 239, and I don't need my course 140 anymore. I'm going to need a 194 radial in here eventually, but I know that I have to make 270 degrees of left turn heading change before I need that. It's not a priority to get it in right away, as long as I start getting it spun in soon. A little bit low on the airspeed, because I just spent so much time trying to dial in that 194 course that I was flying a core airplane. And I'm going to start accelerating back up to 220 here soon. And you can see that even my flight director wants me to make a right-hand turn to 239 heading, because it's a shorter amount of turn if you were to go right instead of left. And as I get pointed back around in the direction of the airport, you can see on the MFD that there is a green dashed line that represents the 194 radial outbound, that my 239 heading is going to intercept that radial before I get to the OPAR intersection. So I've just got to keep this turn going to 239. And I'm going to level off at 15,000 feet, which is what I was cleared to fly to. And then I'm going to throw the autopilot on, and the rest of the departure procedure will be simple after that. And once I get the autopilot on, all I've got to do is continue to monitor the autopilot operation and make sure that it captures the 194 radio. And once I get to 11.6 DME, I'll go to the next point in the FMS of the autopilot. So now all we have left to do is to sit back and enjoy the view.